What is up, YouTube? And welcome back to Yu-Gi-Oh! House. Guys, I have something very special for you today. I'm going to be giving you guys a market watch as well as a holiday list, you could call it, for friends who are wanting to get back into the game, new and returning players, just a bunch of staples for you guys that have been driven into the ground with reprints, making them more accessible, making your locals more competitive. And if you guys stick around to the end, I'm going to be showing you some very spicy techs for Photon Hypernova come full power Kashtira. So let's go ahead and hop in. And of course, before we do, make sure to like and subscribe. Let's go. All right. Of course, Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring is probably the cheapest that it will ever be. This card is a common in the Legend of Crystal Beast structure deck. And that graph is just tanking. Looks like the last couple of sales have been at $4 a pop. And what this card used to be, I would say about $100 for a playset, no matter what copy you were going for. Even the Soul Burner structure deck got really expensive. Next, of course, Infinite Impermanence, another structure deck reprint. It was also reprinted in Mavens, both being heavily accessible, and it's not a common, so you get to bling out your deck. And the super rare copies do hold a lot of the value for the Cyber Strike structure deck. And as we can see, the last couple of sales have been at $9 a pop. Holy wow. Yeah, I would not be buying it at that price. There are definitely more accessible prices here, $6.99, $6.85, if you don't mind playing German copies. Moving on. Now we have Effect Veiler. Of course, Effect Veiler is readily accessible. This was reprinted in the Albash Strike structure deck, along with some other hand traps. I can't think off the top of my head. I think Ghost Ogre was also in that. Call by the Grave. Some really good reprints. The structure decks this year were honestly bangers. And if you really want some hand traps, it's the best way to keep up with some of the heavy hitting decks in the format. Get you some structure decks if you're really wanting to get into the game. Next, another structure deck reprint. Goldbell and Haunted Mansion. I mean, the Legend of Crystal Beast did an amazing job. It was 3 hand traps as well as a spell and trap removal and Cosmic Cyclone. Very good. We see its last sales have been a little under $1 each. Yeah, and that does make sense. Yeah, a little under $1 each. Ghostbell, very good this format, along with Skullmeister. Skullmeister has its rare printing in Ancient Guardians, and I think that's its most recent printing as well. You see a structure deck here. I'm not entirely sure what power code structure deck is, but I can tell you that Ancient Guardians is not worth opening, so definitely just get your singles of Ancient Guardians. Wow, and this card has definitely gone up a lot in price because of how good it is against that tier limit matchup. It helps stop those Ishizu shufflebacks, and we can see here that it's getting sold a little under $1 a pop. DD Crow. I'm not covering the Bystro monsters. The Bystro monsters are a little bit too pricey, especially for people who are trying to get back into the game. And not every deck can take advantage of them. For example, Tri-Brigade Lyrilisk cannot take advantage of the Bystro monsters. It completely locks you out of using Turquoise Warbler. So, of course, you would need to sub that with DD Crow. And Battles of Legend Crystal Revenge gave it an ultra rare printing. Very solid, very nice. Of course, a foiled card. You don't have to run a common card. Not that it really matters, but I know a lot of people do like to bling out their decks, and it looks like, of course, this is selling at about $1. We have one sold for 70 cents. It's a nice little snipe, and look right here, 60 cents and plenty of listings on it. So if you want a foiled copy of DD Crow, again, readily accessible. Structure deck, Legend of Crystal Beast. This is the structure deck that keeps on giving because it gives you one of the most powerful hand traps when you're countering the Ishizu tier limit strategy, and that is, of course, Dimension Shifter, locking your opponent out of their graveyard. Looks like somebody bought 100 of them. Holy wow. I guess they're expecting that card to go up in price, maybe? I'm not sure, but yeah, as you can see, for 43 cents a pop, probably trying to double their money. Selling them for about 80 cents a pop. If it does dodge more reprints, I'm not really sure why, when it does have the ultra rare printing that isn't expensive at all. Very strange to see that. And of course, the Prismatic Secret Rare. Very, very nice version, but I'm here for the budget players. And again, structure decks. Look at this structure deck Outbash Strike. $1 for Dark Ruler No More. This is a very, very heavy hitting board breaker. It's one of the best board breakers we have in the game. It looks like it's selling for around, oh wow, $2 a copy. Yeah, $2 a copy. And this YGO Kid Mace has 114 of this card at $2 a pop plus $1 shipping. I mean, the card speaks for itself. You can't respond to it with monster effects. It's just so oppressive, being able to crack any sort of board with this card easily. Getting into a bit more of the pricier cards, of course, board breakers are traditionally more pricey than hand traps, and it goes to show that Triple Tactics Talent, no matter how many times it gets reprinted, it's gonna stick around that $10 mark. And this is probably one of the better times to grab this card. It looks like it has been slowly creeping up in price. And the longer this card goes without a reprint, the higher it's gonna go in price. I can definitely assure you of that. Looks like it's selling for around $10 a pop, $10 to $11 a pop. Yeah, and look at these listings, reflect that very well. Of course, Triple Tactics Talent is an amazing card along with Evenly Matched. It got its reprint along with Triple Tactics Talent in Magnificent Mavens. And look at this. I mean, this is one of the best cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Hands down. Unfortunately, this was supposed to get reprinted in a structure deck. I think it was supposed to be the Cyber Strike structure deck that it was supposed to be reprinted in. Dodged it. Not sure how. Konami NA fumbled that bag. That's wild. Yeah, $11, $10 a copy. Magnificent Mavens really, really putting in work this year. A lot of very, very good reprints, making board breakers more accessible. Again, shout out to Mama, because Lightning Storm is looking like a, let's see, I would say about a $9 card right now. Yeah, $8.50, $8.99, and $9.74 its last 3 sales. And on top of that, of course, people who have this listed reflect this. And of course, Lightning Storm, along with Evenly Matched, doubles as spell and trap removal. I do want to point that out because we will be going into some spell trap removal in this video as well. And probably the most expensive card that I'm going to feature today is Forbidden Droplet. Forbidden Droplet, I don't mean to sound like that guy, but back in my day, back in my day, this card was $100 a pop, and seeing it at a measly $20 is kind of insane. The longer this card goes without a reprint, it's almost for sure that it's going to spike back up in price. Looks like it has that little baby bump right here in the graph. Its last couple of sales are selling at little under 24 bucks. And these listings, well, these don't really have feedback, but yeah. Of course, the foreign copies, which will sell a little bit under. The English copies, everyone wants to carry a translated version. They want to make sure they're using the card correctly. They don't really want to waste time during tournaments, and I can definitely understand that. But of course, like I said, this is the most expensive card I'm going to feature today, and it's because it's just a staple. I mean, honestly, it's a staple, and if you're really wanting to get into the game, I definitely recommend you copying this sooner rather than later. But of course, you need to spend your money however you want to spend your money. I am not a financial advisor. I'm just saying that this card's incredible. And Lava Golem, to kind of round off our board breakers, it is obviously a more niche board breaker. This is for more of a control strategy that doesn't necessarily need its normal summon, since you do have to give that up. Structure Deck Merrick, I think this is one of my favorite printings of this card. It's just so beautiful. Of course, there's the Pharaonic Guardian Secret Rare. There's plenty of prints all across the board. Hidden Arsenal, of course. Man, I don't even want to shout this product out because this product did very, very bad this year. One of my, probably the worst product this year, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, this has been selling for about $4, I would say. $4, and of course these listings reflect that. And that is its most recent printing if you don't want to get the older versions of the cards. But again, you spend your money however you want to. I just think that if you are going to be getting a copy, I would definitely go for the Hidden Arsenal one. Again, I hate having to shout out that product. That product was terrible. Okay, another great run of reprints. It didn't matter what copy of Cosmic Cyclone you wanted. It looked like you were gonna having to pay around $2 to $3 for each copy, but with 3 reprints in a row, it drove its price to the ground. And now you can get some really, really solid spell and trap removal, especially against decks like Runic. I mean, you hit the fountain and you're solid. You're good. You know, you're banishing Sulliek. You're not having to worry about popping it. Cosmic Cyclone is definitely a very, very good card. Tactical Masters, keeping this price very, very low. Of course, on the high end of Cosmic Cyclone, you can get pretty high. But I mean, if you really just want an accessible version of the card, again, for you or anybody else trying to get into the game of Yu-Gi-Oh, this is selling for, look at this, 20 cents a pop, man. 20 cents. This guy's got it listed for 10 cents, 46, plenty of feedback. Yeah. Get it sooner rather than later. Spirit Charmers was a structure deck last year. I did not buy it and have been kicking myself ever since. Very, very good reprints. It had Dark Widow No More. It had Twin Twisters. Well, I wouldn't say like super good reprints, but definitely missed out. Looks like it's selling for about $1. But of course, if you want a foiled version, it's not too far off to get the, where is it? The premium gold rare. The super rare from Breakers of Shadows is about that $1 mark. Even the ultra rare out of the legendary hero decks is about $1. So definitely some, oh wow, the secret rare is honestly a lot cheaper than I thought as well. And now getting to Harpy's Feather Duster. Harpy's Feather Duster was holding these structure decks down. I mean, I think the only sort of value these decks had for a while was just Harpy's Feather Duster, because it had been so long since it had gotten reprinted and everyone just ignored this printing. But again, shout out to Mama, man, because this set just gave reprint after reprint, and they even did I'm not sure if this is the OG art or the alternate art, but I love this art. And it looks like it's selling for around $4. I mean, this is about as cheap as it gets, for real. Harpy's Feather Duster is a powerhouse of a card. There is a reason it is on the limited list. And if you guys have made it this far, I'm about to have to spoil the sauce. Book of Eclipse. Holy wow. I have been playtesting a lot against Kashtira because you need to be prepared once Photon Hypernova hits, and Book of Eclipse just shuts that deck out, man. And not only that, it's not just good against Kashtira. You know, a good staple card is good against multiple decks, and this is good against Tearlaments, even if they're not splashing Kashtira. It's good against Flowanda Rees. You book the M-Pen. I mean, Book of Eclipse is awesome. And look at this. The Dude Ultra Rare is about as expensive as most of its printing. So if you don't want to run a common, there is a readily accessible, man, look at this graph. This graph is crazy. There's a readily accessible Ultra Rare, and it's selling for around that $1 mark each. And if your deck really can take advantage of the discard, you don't want to have to deal with the drawback of potentially letting your opponent draw cards. Book of Lunar Eclipse is just as good, though you do need to target 2 cards. But that's most likely going to happen. I mean, Shangri-La plus whatever they summon on standby phase, the Arise Heart, there are going to be plenty of monsters for you to target. Going against Kashtira and during Photon Hypernova format. And this is, I mean, dummy cheap. This was reprinted in the 2022 Tin of Pharaoh Gods as a super rare. Very, very accessible card. Very good come Photon Hypernova. Another insanely good card come Photon Hypernova is Swords of Concealing Light. Plenty of printings all across the board. But once we get to that ultra rare, I'm not going to talk about that. Again, this is for the budget players, people getting back into the game. And I want you to be prepared. I don't want you to be discouraged come Photon Hypernova, because there are going to be some very, very powerful decks on the horizon. And plenty of printings. I mean, I think your most readily accessible one is gonna be the Structure Deck Sacred Beast. I would have to put my money on that. That Structure Deck is also very good. And look at that graph, man. Yeah. People are definitely trying to catch on to the wave before it happens. And I definitely recommend that you get yours sooner rather than later, because Swords of Concealing Light is, again, another great card. It books everything, and it keeps Shangri-La from locking out your zones, because of course Shangri-La blinks out zones when one of your cards is banished face down, and you'd be surprised how often that's going to be happening with cards like Unicorn, cards like Fenrir. I mean, it's just insane. And again, Winter Cherries, the overlapping that a lot of these decks are going to be having, like Sprite, like Tearlament, and like Kashtira, Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries could be the silver bullet to a lot of these decks. And there is a very, very accessible printing just reprinted in the 2022 Ten of Pharaoh's Gods. They went ahead and reprinted all the Ghost Girls, and Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries is very, very accessible. Looks like it's 20 cents a pop, and these listings reflect that. Look, 7 cents. Perfect example of a super accessible Ghost Girl. That's not bad to have, you know. Even if you have a dedicated side binder, like I do, I think that this is definitely a staple in that binder. And of course, last and certainly not least, Crossout Designator. Crossout Designator follows the same kind of philosophy as Winter Cherries, where there's going to be a lot of overlap in these decks. A lot of decks are going to use Kashtira as an engine, if not a full-on strategy. So I think that Crossout Designator is going to be one of those sleeper cards. It's, I want to say, limited to 2 in Master Duel. I'm not too huge on Master Duel. That format just sucks. And in the OCG, it's limited to 1. And it just shows you how powerful Crossout Designator is. But that's all I have for today, guys. Thank you so much for checking back in with Yu-Gi-Oh! House. I hope you guys are having a wonderful holiday season. And I hope this inspires you a lot to get your friends into the game, to get you into the game. And I mean, that's what Yu-Gi-Oh! Is all about. Friendship, man. Thank you so much for checking back in, and peace.